I punched the steering wheel so hard my knuckles split open. Blood smeared the dashboard, but I didn't feel a thing. All I could hear was the judge's voice echoing in my head, * primary custody awarded to the mother. *. That couldn't be right. I'd spent years controlling every inch of our lives. I picked the schools, the doctors, the rules. I paid the bills. I made the decisions. I built this family from the ground up. And she, the woman who emotionally checked out years ago, was being handed the kids like some tragic heroine? No. No, this wasn't how it was supposed to go. This courtroom wasn't just taking my kids, it was taking my legacy. But when my own son refused to hug me in the hallway after the hearing, that's when the real pain started. Because that's when I realized, someone had turned them against me. And I think I know who. Before I tell you what happened next, make sure you're watching this alone. Because some truths hurt worse when someone else hears them too. Her name was Camille. And if you'd asked me 2 years ago, I would have said she was the luckiest woman alive. Beautiful in that subtle, bookish kind of way. Gentle. Predictable. The kind of mother who knew the exact size of our kids' shoes without checking twice. The kind of wife who packed lunches with handwritten notes and still asked if I wanted seconds at dinner. But somewhere along the line, she stopped needing me. I didn't see it at first. I just thought she was tired. Worn out from the kids, from the house, from life. I told myself, you're the man of the house, Marcus. Step up. So I did. I took control of everything. Camille said she wanted to go back to teaching once the kids were in school. I said no, not directly, of course. I just reminded her how hard it was to find good childcare. How we'd need to buy another car. How stressful it would be to juggle 2 work schedules. I reasoned with her until she gave up. She never said much. She just nodded and smiled that distant smile of hers. I made the big decisions. We switched pediatricians because I didn't like how soft the old one was. I transferred Miles to a stricter school when he got caught skipping reading logs. Camille cried in the kitchen that night. Said he was just overwhelmed. Said we should be working with him, not punishing him. I told her this was what real parenting looked like, consistency. She didn't push back after that. I started to notice things in the house felt colder. Not physically, just quiet. Too quiet. She stopped playing music when she cooked. Stopped lighting candles. She stopped asking me how my day was, and I figured maybe she was just going through something. So I asked her, once. Cam, are we okay? She looked at me, really looked at me, for the first time in weeks. We've been surviving, Marcus. But that's not the same thing as living. I laughed. Literally laughed out loud. Living doesn't pay the mortgage, I said. You're too soft for this world sometimes. That night, she slept in Miles' room. She said it was just to help him with a stomach bug. I knew better. But instead of apologizing, I doubled down. I became more present. Not emotionally. Logistically. I took over the carpool schedule. Made myself the contact for all school-related things. Took the kids to their appointments so Camille could rest. Told her she deserved the break, but really, I just didn't trust her to do things the right way anymore. I didn't see it as control. I saw it as competence. Camille started journaling more. Writing late at night after everyone was in bed. I'd walk into the kitchen at midnight and she'd be scribbling like her life depended on it. I asked to read it once, half joking. She covered it with her arm like I was a stranger. It's private. Private? From her husband? That night, I unlocked her laptop after she fell asleep. She had no password. I went through her documents, her email, her search history. She'd been Googling emotional gaslighting. How to know if your partner is controlling. Best custody lawyers for mothers. My stomach dropped. My first thought wasn't fear. It was rage. She was planning something. She was trying to turn the kids against me. I closed the laptop and went to bed like nothing happened. The next morning, I told the kids we were going on a surprise weekend trip, just me and them. No Camille. I needed to remind them who the fun parent was. We went to the mountains. Hiked. Roasted marshmallows. I bought them each little journals and said, write whatever you want. You don't even have to show me. That made them feel grown up. Independent. But when I asked Miles later what he'd written about, he just said, nothing much. Just thoughts. He was 11. I didn't like how cagey he sounded. Camille barely reacted when we got back. How was it, she asked, folding laundry on the couch like we hadn't just disappeared for 3 days. They had fun, I said. That's good. She never looked up. Something in her had shifted, and it scared me in ways I didn't admit out loud. So I started gathering proof. Recording conversations. Saving her texts. Taking photos of the house when she left laundry undone or forgot to pack the kids' lunches. Tiny things. Insignificant, really. But they painted a picture. One that I could use, if I needed to. Then, one night, it happened. She sat across from me at the kitchen table, hands trembling. I'm filing for separation, she said. Not because I hate you. But because I'm disappearing, and I need to find myself again. I blinked at her. Just blinked. You think a judge is going to give you custody? I asked. I don't want full custody, Marcus, she whispered. I just want peace. I laughed. Peace? You don't get to leave this family and call it peace. You don't get to walk away like you're the victim. And then I said the line I'd regret for the rest of my life. Courts always favor the father who provides. And I provide everything. She didn't argue. She just stood up and walked away. And I knew, this wasn't over. It was war. The day the papers came in the mail, I didn't open them right away. I left the envelope sitting on the counter like it didn't matter. Like this was all just some temporary tantrum Camille would outgrow. But when I finally slid it open and saw the name of her lawyer, Claudia Reynoso, my stomach dropped. Claudia wasn't just some run-of-the-mill family attorney. She was the type who built her entire reputation on standing up for women silenced by their marriages. So that's how Camille was painting it. Like I was some monster. I wanted to tear the whole thing up right there. But I knew better. Instead, I called my cousin Drew, a real estate attorney who knew people in family law. Get me someone who's ruthless, I told him. I'm not playing games. By the next afternoon, I had my own legal team. Strategy meetings. Timelines. Evidence lists. I handed them every screenshot, every voice memo, every photo I'd ever taken of Camille dropping the ball. She's neglectful, I told them. Checked out. Irresponsible. They nodded, took notes, said I had a good case. That was all I needed to hear. I started correcting the kids' memories. You remember how Mom forgot your dentist appointment last year? I'd say casually over dinner. Miles would blink. I think she was sick. No, I'd say, smiling. She just didn't care enough to check the calendar. I could see the confusion flicker in his eyes. Or I'd mention how many nights I stayed up helping with science projects. How I taught Ava to ride her bike. I made sure they remembered me as the parent who showed up, even if I had to rewrite a few things to make it true. But the kids weren't buying it the way I expected. Ava got quiet around me. Miles stopped hugging me goodnight. They still listened, still followed rules, but something was pulling them away from me, like a rope being tugged from the other side. And I knew exactly who was doing the tugging. Camille moved into a small apartment 3 blocks from the school. Clean, quiet, cluttered with plants and sketchbooks and kids' drawings taped to the fridge. When I dropped the kids off there one Friday afternoon, I saw Ava run inside and immediately wrap her arms around her mother like she'd been holding her breath all week. I sat in the car for 10 minutes after they went in, just staring. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying our marriage in my head, trying to find the exact moment she stopped needing me. Was it when I changed their bedtime routine without asking? Was it when I made her quit her book club because Tuesday nights were too busy? Or maybe it was the day she stopped smiling during dinner. I don't know. I just know she was slipping away and taking my kids with her. So I tried harder. I enrolled Ava in gymnastics. Signed Miles up for chess tournaments. Started driving them to school every morning with their favorite playlists blasting. I even started cooking real meals, not frozen stuff, and let them pick the menu. I was trying to remind them that I was still the better parent. But they saw right through me. One night at the dinner table, Miles looked up and said, "Why are you being so nice all the time now?" I forced a laugh. "What do you mean? You didn't used to make spaghetti like this. Or care about my books." I set my fork down. "What are you trying to say, bud?" He shrugged. "Just feels like you're acting." Ava was quiet, but she nodded slightly. And for a second, I hated them. Hated how smart they were. How much like Camille they'd become. Always sensing everything. Always 2 steps ahead of me. I stood up without finishing my plate and went straight to the basement. That night, I emailed my lawyer and said, "I want full custody. She's turning them against me." Court hearings started soon after. Camille looked tired. But calm. Always calm. Her lawyer made her seem like some soft-spoken victim, painting a picture of a woman who just wanted stability, routine, and safety for her children. I sat there gripping the edge of the table, practically vibrating with rage. She was lying by omission. Leaving out how passive she'd been. How many times she'd left me to clean up her messes. How emotionally unavailable she'd become. But none of that was on paper. What was on paper? My controlling texts. My aggressive tone in email exchanges with the school. A recording Camille had taken, one I didn't know existed, of me lecturing Ava for 30 straight minutes because she forgot to bring her library book home. In the recording, I sounded like a tyrant. Cold. Relentless. "She has to learn consequences," my voice said. "But she's just 8, Camille whispered in the background. The courtroom was silent when it played. The judge didn't look at me when it ended. He just said, "We'll break for lunch." I didn't eat. Couldn't. After that hearing, my lawyer pulled me aside. "We need to pivot. Focus on shared custody. You're not going to win full." "No," I snapped. "I'm not backing down." She stared at me. "You're going to lose your kids if you don't listen." I fired her 2 days later. Hired someone tougher. A man this time. Someone who promised to get aggressive. But every step forward we tried to make in court, Camille's team had a way of dismantling it. Patiently. Softly. Piece by piece. They had testimony from the school counselor. Statements from Ava's therapist. And then, worst of all, they had something I never expected. A copy of Miles' journal. The one I gave him during our mountain trip. Camille hadn't taken it. He'd given it to her. Inside were pages about how he felt watched all the time. How he couldn't breathe at Dad's house. How he missed laughing with Mom. One line was underlined 3 times. Asterisk, it's like I have to earn love at Dad's. At Mom's, it's just there. Asterisk. I almost threw up when I heard it read aloud. It wasn't just the judge who heard it. It was everyone. I felt the floor tilt beneath me. Camille didn't smile. Didn't gloat. She just looked down at her hands, as if even she didn't want to win like this. But I had lost something big. Not the case. Not yet. Something deeper. Their trust. And I had no idea how to get it back. The last court date felt like a funeral. Not because someone had died, but because something had, and I was the only one mourning it. I wore a navy suit. Clean shave. Hair perfect. I looked like someone who had his life together. But inside, I was rotting. Camille sat on the opposite bench, hands folded neatly, her lawyer whispering something in her ear. She nodded once. Calm as ever. The judge entered. Same woman as before. Same icy, unreadable face. I used to believe the system was on my side. That being the responsible parent would be enough. That the house, the job, the money, that all of that meant something. But in the weeks leading up to the final hearing, something shifted. Ava stopped saying I love you during drop-offs. Miles started refusing to get out of Camille's car when it was my custody weekend. They wouldn't even eat the meals I cooked. Just picked at their food like it was poison. The last supervised visit ended with Ava asking the monitor if she could go back to her mom early. And when I looked at her, she just said, "I'm tired, Dad." Like I was a burden. Like being near me drained her. In court, Camille's team brought in the big guns. A custody evaluator. A child psychologist. Even the school principal. They didn't just say I was controlling. They said I created an atmosphere of fear. That my kids couldn't relax. Couldn't breathe. That love in my home came with rules, conditions, consequences. I wanted to scream. I wanted to grab the mic and shout, "That's called parenting." But deep down, I knew. They weren't describing a father. They were describing a warden. When it was my turn to testify, I tried to sound remorseful. Calm. Measured. Yes, I was strict, I said. But only because I love them. I never raised a hand. I never screamed. Camille's lawyer stood. "Mr. Taylor, do you remember this text?" She held up a printed page. My words, in black and white. If she keeps telling them I'm the bad guy, I'll make sure she never sees them again. I closed my eyes. I had written that during one of our earliest fights. I didn't mean it. But there it was, on record. "Do you consider that co-parenting?" the lawyer asked. I didn't answer. Because what could I say? The final blow came when they played a voicemail I didn't know had been saved. Ava's voice, shaky and small, "Can I stay at Mom's this weekend? Dad's mad again and he gets quiet and scary and just watches us." You could hear her breathing heavy. Like she was afraid someone would hear. I broke right there. On the stand. Couldn't stop the tears. Because in that moment, I knew I'd lost her. I'd lost both of them. And no courtroom speech, no legal maneuver, no last-ditch testimony was going to get them back. The judge's ruling was short. Given the psychological reports, the testimonies, and the documented behavioral patterns, This court finds that awarding primary physical and legal custody to the mother is in the best interests of the children. She turned to me. Mr. Taylor, you will be granted alternate weekend visitation, supervised by a third-party monitor, for a period of 6 months. You are required to attend a 12-week parental empathy course and begin individual therapy. We will reevaluate custody at that time. Camille didn't cry. I did. In front of the whole room. Shoulders shaking, face buried in my hands. When court adjourned, I tried to approach the kids in the hallway. Miles stepped behind Camille. Ava wouldn't even look at me. I crouched down. Hey. I'm still your dad. That doesn't change, okay? Ava bit her lip. It's not about being our dad, Daddy. It's about how you make us feel. And that broke me worse than any judge ever could. They left. I stood there alone. Like a ghost at his own funeral. Weeks passed. I moved into a 2-bedroom apartment near a gas station. No backyard. No photos on the walls. Just silence. I started therapy. I didn't speak for the first 2 sessions. My therapist waited. Then, in the 3rd one, I said it. I thought I was protecting them. I thought I was being a good man. She nodded. But control isn't love, Marcus. I hated how true it sounded. I texted the kids every morning. Most days, no response. Ava would send the occasional emoji. Miles stopped replying altogether. Camille kept everything cordial. Businesslike. Dry logistics and updates. I started seeing my own reflection differently, not as a protector, but as a man who confused authority with affection. A man who built a house but forgot how to make it feel like home. The court eventually granted me unsupervised visits. But Ava chose to skip most of them. Miles only came when Camille insisted. And even then, it wasn't the same. It never would be. I saw a photo online last month. Camille, the kids, a golden retriever puppy, smiling on some nature trail. It didn't even sting. Not like before. They looked free. Not from me. But free to be themselves. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel robbed. I felt ashamed. Because I finally understood the thing I'd refused to see the whole time. You can win every argument. You can control every room. But if you turn your own children into soldiers in a war they never signed up for, you lose everything that ever mattered. And you deserve to.